It's literally, it was like a moment of like, is that what the kids are saying today? Like, I don't know, bro. I don't know the difference between white pop stars. I know that like everybody's mad at Taylor Swift again, but I mean for a good reason, because you know Taylor Swift is a billionaire Zionist, and I think some liberals are finally like crashing out over that fact.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I just keep seeing like TikToks, like very serious TikToks. I should probably find one. That's what we do on the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it will be like something to the effect of like, we're not forgiving Taylor Swift this time. We're not going to.
I didn't forgive her last time.
I was gonna be like,
like, you mean this time?
Let me see if I can find it, since we have this luxury now.
I did not cut my hair, by the way. It's just tied up in a bun for the listeners.
Didn't you just cut your hair?
Yeah, I cut the sides.
Yeah, I was looking at our episode from whenever the last time we did an episode, because I was trying to get my lighting right, and it just wasn't working. Taylor Swift. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I looked up Taylor Swift and I got stuff about the National Guard, which, I mean, yeah, we'll get to that, but all right.
I didn't. Okay, I don't know what's going on with the National Guard and Taylor Swift. I missed that story, so you'll have to enlighten me.
Here we go. Here's one. This is a 4-minute video. We might have to cut this one down, buddy, but we can look at it anyway.
Through the power of editing.
Through the movie magic. That's what we call it back in the biz. But I burped. Bro, I was so goddamn manic earlier. It was kind of insane. Oh, I have to put. I hate my life, bro. I hate my
Welcome to the Kollectiv podcast.
My privileged ass life as a podcaster.
A little ASMR. You ready?
Yeah. I got them with all
You're
Edge, which you know is funny because I feel like I do that every time I do anything.
You just came out of nowhere and said Edge. So I don't know if you were talking before.
It was command. I was talking about how annoying it is that I always load up videos on Firefox and then forget that Firefox won't share the audio when we're presenting. So then I had to go back and put them all back into the Microsoft Edge. So this is a 4-minute video.
Of a new album, and suddenly everyone's like, actually, Taylor, I saved you a seat at the table. I feel like we have a culture in the world that is very quick to critique and judge billionaires such as Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. These incelly men that are easy to make fun of, honestly, and who have genuine and public
I don't know what direction it's going to go into.
intentions for what they want to do with their wealth and influence.
It'd be hilarious if it was like a pro Taylor video.
Want to be like,
goes completely against everything we're talking about.
Billionaires. But I would argue the only way that you could be a good billionaire is by never allowing yourself to get to the point where you are a billionaire, because you are constantly trying to redistribute that wealth. All of this was spurred from seeing the album
Comrade Just Peers
on her Instagram. And I just
says
I don't know,
Joan there, so Comrade Joan.
A billionaire actively trying to make as much money as possible.
Look who reposted.
The exclusive vinyl and exclusive pre-order, whatever. It just makes me sick. Like, you want to make more money, and I understand that a lot of people put food on the table via Taylor Swift's income, but she's sitting on $1 billion. That's enough money where you could actually make change in the world. Imagine what $10 million could do to a third world country.
What charities are they?
I've seen that she donates to, relief in disasters, and will donate like $5 million, or to her fans' GoFundMe's, whatever. But it's not like she is donating a substantial.
I know we're doing a podcast, but I just kind of got absorbed into the video.
I'm like, don't worry, this is the more casual episode.
Absolutely,
we're just chill. Like this would be in the if we were doing like a Joe Rogan of the left, right? This is the moment where we're like smoking. It's like, bro, you ever done DMT?
Yeah, haven't you done DMT?
Yeah, it wasn't
actually
on purpose.
Relatively recently.
it wasn't on purpose, but yeah.
Cruz is a victim. You wanna lay that story down for us?
Quick run around. Like the little THC pens. The Benjamin, Pendrick Lamar, Benjamin Button. Smoking, doing our thing, whatever. And one person at the club that we were with starts passing his around, and I smoked it, and I was like, that was different. What was that? And he goes, it's DMT. I was like, what? Was not prepared for that.
No.
It's a fun 20 minutes.
Much like how we've been unprepared for the onslaught that has been the last 2 weeks. And
fascism is a surprise DMT hit.
Bro, I'm so tired. Like I'm really just like tired of everything. Absolutely anything and everything. I literally am like going through mania, and like I've always been, a person who has manic episodes, but like literally, like I was like in the car earlier, just like screaming and just like, I don't know, steaming like crazy, playing with a fidget spinner, just going bananas. And then like not 5 minutes into it, I just got really sad, and I'm just like, damn, because like, I don't know, bro, you can't escape. Okay, so for the fucking time capsule, right? So basically, what was it last week? Donald Trump ordered essentially the occupation of Washington, D.C. Through use of the National Guard, who were there to basically, assist ICE in basically allowing them to do their job by taking over things like, traffic control and stuff like that. But as of earlier today, I think it's both Ohio and Tennessee National Guard are going to deploy to DC as well. Yeah, I think I shared it on my Facebook. So, it's just basically getting worse, and the battle lines are sort of being drawn by each state and or faction or coalitions that haven't actually been named yet. Here we go. I have it. I have
says 5 Republican-led states are deploying to DC.
Okay, so yeah, on here I had Ohio and South Carolina. What did you do?
So we've got Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, Ohio, West Virginia, Tennessee.
Yep. Sounds about right. Nice pun. But yeah, so basically, this is a blueprint for what's going to happen essentially all across the country. Donald Trump is consolidating his power and the power into his administration through use of, like he's been doing since he's got in the office, through, emergency, measures, claiming that there's problems that don't really exist, or at least exacerbating or exaggerating the problem. So, for example, his excuse to occupy DC was essentially saying that there's a rampant crime problem because that kid is it Big Balls, Blue Balls? I don't remember. Big Balls. Yeah. So that was the kid who was working with Elon Musk in the Doge agency or whatever. Supposedly he got carjacked. And there's a really funny picture online of him like sitting on his butt with like a very obvious nosebleed, but they like took the blood from his nose and like smeared it all over his chest. So it looks like he's like brutalized, but like if you can literally just tell it's from his nose, like it's not that serious, Yeah. So that was basically the catalyst to the last couple of weeks events. Essentially, Donald Trump is claiming that DC is full of crime, and therefore the military, National Guard, need to go in order to help clean up the city. And now that has quickly turned into we're going to do this in essentially every major city in the country, which includes New York, Kansas City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, who else? Atlanta, basically Houston, wherever there's, the major population centers. So effectively, we've cross the line into fascism, and I'm sure you can go through the archives here and hear how many times we've said that, but like now, like for reals, there's no you can't argue against it anymore at this point. What are you gonna say?
It's like the only thing you could argue potentially is that we are in the midst of the full-blown fascist takeover, and we're still waiting for that final moment.
I think that's sort of go ahead.
Like opposition parties are still legal, right? We're still allowed to have a podcast like this. It hasn't cracked down quite like that yet.
Well,
so we're in like those beginning, like it gets worse from here if it does not get stopped.
Yeah,
if there's
and
no
it will
pushback,
get worse.
It's done.
Yeah, and it will get worse. And it's going to happen very, very suddenly. And it's funny because when we read the letter from last episode from Lenin talking about the revolution, he mentions that like the people who basically aren't in the know are going to see the collapse of the Tsar's government, or in this case, the collapse of the American government, happen so quickly.
Yeah.
And they're going to be very shocked as to like, well, what do you mean it just happened today?
Like how did this happen?
But it's been getting there. You know, we've been building up. All these things we've talked about for over the last 2 years have been, you know, leading up to this. I have a quick little video.
Anything. I don't think there should be any kind of accelerated military presence in DC at all. They weren't here for January 6th, so why now?
The government of South Carolina has sent 200 National Guard troops to the district. West Virginia, 300 to 400 troops, and Ohio, 150 troops. Some folks came to Union Station not to protest the National Guard, but to take pictures and shake hands with them.
This is the first time they got to look in a military Humvee, you know what I'm saying? Just little stuff that they ain't never experienced before.
This man declined to give his name, but said he mentors young people in the district and wanted to educate them about the federal takeover of DC police.
With the youth being a scapegoat, and they saying they come in here to clean up the city, they're going to be the ones that's targeted a lot.
This man says after meeting the National Guard, he still wasn't convinced their presence here is needed.
There's not even that many crimes going on in the city right now for them to be this deep out here messing with her.
I think something interesting to point out is a lot of this National Guard equipment is still painted for operations that were happening in the Middle East.
I'm saying? It's better for the community.
Yeah, it's sort of the leftovers.
Stop them down.
Right.
Not slugs.
NBC News has learned some of the National Guard troops here in DC will be armed with weapons. That's a change from what the policy was just a few days ago, when the Army said National Guard members would not be carrying weapons.
They're just standing around. It's not like they're protecting anything.
I don't think
that's normal. That's
Comrade.
normal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the weekend warriors going, oh, I get to do something cool.
Yeah, it's really funny. I saw this one clip on TikTok where like they're all like getting to the parking lot and they're all coming out of their cars like they just woken up and they're like, man, what the fuck are we doing here? And that's the thing, you know, the military is made up of, oh, that reminds me, the military is made up of you know, of really, really young people. Today I was at a gun range and there was 3 young people there. And I mean they listen, I'm short, but like they were short. And you know how tall I am, Cruz. I'm like, what, 5'4", 5'5". So if I'm saying they're short, they're little guys.
I'd give you 5'5".
Thanks,
6.
baby. Oh.
Yeah.
But they were little, you know, like 5 feet. Okay. I thought they were kids. Like they were in there together. So I was like, oh, okay. So like these people are like, they look really young. Maybe they know somebody here or whatever. No, they were renting out range time. But not only were they renting out range time, they were Marines. And I was listening them talk to the grown ass adult, you know, behind the counter, and I'm like, oh my god. I turned to the person I was with. I was like, these guys are babies. Like, and like I know we've talked about this before. Like, you know, military really does prey on people, but like these guys were in high school, like a couple months ago, bro. Like, what do you?
I mean, that's probably where they got recruited.
Exactly.
The recruiters sit in high schools.
I remember. So I don't know. It was just kind of crazy, and I was like, listening to them talk about firearms, and I was like, these guys are babies, bro. Like, I don't know, Marine or not. I mean, you know how I feel about, you know, U.S. Armed Forces, but it's like, kind of don't want to be in the stall next to you. I don't know what you guys are. Take this shit seriously or what? Like, I don't know. It was disturbing.
Like, what? Why did you join? I need to know.
Right. But anyway, the point is, while the Marines definitely entices people who are a little bit more ideologically in line with, the U.S. interests, National Guard more often than not isn't. But you still have these people who are getting deployed to a city without a clear objective. That sounds kind of familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And we're overall seeing the bolstering of ICE. And, what I wanted to talk about today was sort of comparing ICE to the Nazi SS. We've been hearing this a lot on TikTok, especially people referring to ICE as the Gestapo, the new Gestapo, the SS or whatever. I think even a couple episodes ago, we said that, they're effectively going to be the new SS with the new budget that they got. Yep. But so what is the SS? Where did it come from? And I also kind of want to look in how ICE came to be in sort of general U.S. immigration policies, kind of compare the sort of two situations. So, what did you find when you were doing your diligent research, my boy?
My super diligent research. So, with Nazi Germany, things developed obviously a little different than they're doing here. But there were two main factions, right? There's the SA and the SS. And the SS was relatively small, definitely more efficient because they were more like you have to be loyal, and ideologically you had to be like on board with everything. Whereas the SA was a bit looser, and actually a lot of them I learned thought they were moving towards a socialist revolution, as opposed and because they got tricked by the National Socialism part.
Yeah.
But when Hitler became chancellor and Göring essentially took over the state of Prussia, and he utilized what forces he did have and took control of the Prussian police force, combined their numbers, and then everything sort of became the Gestapo. And it was interesting, like kind of looking into that, because the parallel is there with what's happening here. ICE is an agency that existed. It started during Bush years, I want to say.
Yeah, it was like 2002 when the not quite the Patriot Act, but one of the following, I think of the Home Front something.
It was like as a result of it.
Yeah, it is when so ICE came together after there was two different organizations, mainly referred to as the INS, which combined together to become customs enforcement and immigration. Anyway, but yeah, so that's what happened. That was like 2002.
Yeah, it's like I can't remember the timeline, but essentially the same thing, right? Agencies are combining; they form something new with a specific goal in mind. Where for the Gestapo, it was specifically to crack down on Jewish people, communists, socialists, trade unionists, and transition everything away from the liberal government that had existed and move into the fascist government. And we're sort of in that position right now where ICE is being positioned to do that for the final part of the fascist takeover, which, the equivalent for Nazi Germany was the Night of Long Knives.
Yeah. So from what I'm finding here, just to answer your question, so U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, alongside its parent agency, Department of Homeland Security, was formed under the Homeland Security Act of 2002, following the September 11th attacks. With its establishment, ICE, alongside two other agencies, absorbed and assumed the function of the Immigration and Naturalization Services, which was INS, which was previously housed under the Justice Department, and the United States Customs Service, which was part of the Treasury Department. And for those of you who've been watching the TikTok clips and maybe don't know, what, when you hear people talk about, oh, it's ICE, and you see guys with HSI or ERO on their placards or their badges, essentially what that means is, I had the names right here and I totally forgot what they were. Yeah, so HSI is Homeland Security Investigations, and ERO is Enforcement and Removal Operations. So kind of like the SS, how like the SS was divided into different, organizations that, handle different things. HSI is more of like the administrative kind of figuring stuff out, who is who, data and, gathering, intelligence kind of stuff. ERO is more of the guys who go in and actually take you, by force.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from the Marxian website known as Wikipedia, I found it really interesting.
True Marxist hub.
Yeah, I found it really interesting where when it's talking about sort of the how something like HSI or Homeland Security, like the original like customs enforcement was found, it was telling me that there was Wikipedia was citing it as a better citation needed, and they were saying that U.S. first got into customs and immigration, in the late 1700s, in order to enforce tariffs and taxes and stuff. And I clicked on that link, and it brought me to the ICE website. So,
oh wow,
it is very, very interesting. And a video came up, and I didn't watch it, but I now that I'm saying it, I kind of do want to see what it says.
There was something kind of related but unrelated earlier, because when I was like doing just a little bit of research on the Gestapo and the SS and stuff like that, I was on TikTok and I typed in rise of the Gestapo. Right, I was like, is there like a quick timeline? Like, I don't know the dates on when everything happened. And instead of giving me information about the rise of that, it redirected me to like information about the Holocaust from like Israeli. Like,
oh no.
funding. And I was just like, why are you blocking information about the rise of the people that did the Holocaust? That's weird.
Because the parallels are there. So
they're like, hey man, why don't you learn about the Holocaust? I'm like, I'm trying to.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So this is what it says. So the origins of Homeland Security Investigations (HSI) agents date back to the formation of the United States Customs Service in 1789. Citation: better source needed. Taxing the imports led to the creation of Treasury Department and its subcomponents. Blah blah blah. Later, the Industrial Revolution led to some of its first immigration-related laws, targeted forced labor, human trafficking, and child exploitation. Better sources needed. And I was like, what the fuck? And I clicked on that. And yeah, it brought me to like a jank ass looking website that literally is just the ICE website. And I'm like, damn. So it really, I wonder when that change was made. But yeah. Yeah. So basically here, I had my little timeline here. Okay, yeah. So like literally the speed run of a speed run, right? So back in the day, during the right after Civil War, there wasn't really like an effective, like standardized, like how are we handling sort of just immigration in general, which is something the Union looked to sort of capitalize on, during Reconstruction, trying to get the southern states or to formally defeat Confederate states to kind of come together and have more like a standardized system. So that's when they kind of came up with the sort of the predecessor of INS, which was separated into all different kinds of bureaus that basically describe what we're saying now. Like one had one kind of job to like do more administrative stuff, then there was other stuff, other bureaus that kind of like actually looked for people or dealing with things. It's all bureaucracy bullshit, nothing really that interesting for this podcast. There's a Bureau of Immigration and Bureau of Naturalization, which came up in 1933. Going a little bit before that, in 1891, all these kind of commissions were started. So it was still like, while there was this conceited effort to sort of standardize the way immigration process kind of worked, there wasn't really like any like one leading the charge, which now that I'm saying that out loud makes it kind of interesting, because you get a lot of these arguments from, white people when you talk about like, oh, well, my family, they came and they were able to do this, Y, and Z and came through Ellis Island or did whatever. And then they were just allowed in without really like a sort of like I keep saying the word standardization. It would actually make a lot of sense that a lot of people will kind of just be able to sort of walk in.
Yeah, that like passports didn't exist till pretty recently, even.
Mm-hmm.
Like people will walk in, they'd be like, "What's your name?" And they give the name. Half the time they couldn't pronounce the name, so they just write whatever name it was, and like that's your name now. And then you're there. That's it. And it wasn't really a problem.
Yeah. No, exactly. It just kind of, whatever. But basically, after so 9/11 happens, the government consolidates additional power through the Patriot Act, creating, the Department of Homeland Security, creating HSI, and subsequently, creating ICE, in order to essentially prepare for the day that they would effectively want to take power. I'm not saying that in like sort of a tinfoil hat kind of way. It's just that the people, and I'm sure the comrades back then, who were communists, back in early 2000s, who protested the original Patriot Act, this is exactly the kind of stuff that they were talking about. They were talking about the government
where
being
it was
allowed
going
to have, interference, to have spies, to have a secret police, to have, militarized police literally picking people off the streets. And that's basically, that's what's happening now,
We are at the point they were warning us of.
Exactly.
And now we're giving even more dire warnings where it's like, okay, we're here, guys. I just looked up. While you were talking, I was looking up because I was curious what early resistance looked like with the Gestapo, and it said there were few attacks on them. They were kind of unorganized, and they took power so fast that it became nearly impossible for people to resist. Which, thankfully, is not the same parallel we have here because of the 700% increase, which I'm sure that number has changed by now. That's a pretty old number at this point. Attacks on ICE agents, all the assaults and things like that, and the relatively high turnover rate that they have. They're not, thankfully, not seeing the same level of success, at least at the speed that the Nazis faced or achieved. A little optimism in there. It's still bad.
It's good.
We're still fucked, but don't let your guard down.
Right. Yeah. So basically, what I'm seeing, and from what I was reading, that basically, right from 2002 to 2003, all these different immigration bureaus are sort of consolidated into one force that doesn't even, patrol the border. That's what the Border Patrol is for. These guys operate within the state in order to look for people who they consider dangerous immigrants and remove them from the country. And we've clearly been seeing this entire, before this year, during Joe Biden, during Obama, don't get me wrong, going all the way back to Obama with the construction of the first, ICE detention centers, we've only been seeing that increase exponentially over the last couple of, even just weeks.
And I think it's also good to remind people that, they tend to operate within that 100-mile border zone, which encompasses just about everybody. So it's all been working towards this moment.
Right.
Something you said earlier where you were talking about it's going to seem sudden, like when the American government collapses. I think about it, like, I swear, like it's the Portuguese or the Dutch government. It was one of those countries where it's just like, oh, government collapsed. Like, what do you mean the government collapsed?
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like they hit like a gridlock or something, but it's really funny how they say it. They're like, the government it's gone. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody. Okay, so I found something else, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. But yeah, we'll talk about this. But let me pull this thing up real quick. I couldn't find what the hell I was looking for, so we ended up going down a goddamn different route. But
yeah, you need like technical difficulties there. Well,
yeah, right.
Like,
a little
for the set.
Yeah. But I ended up finding something else. talking about the immigration or the concentration camps, I should say, that ICE has already established within the state. So ICE
immigration camps where we concentrate people.
Right. Exactly. Throughout the United States that detain illegal immigrants who are apprehended and placed into removal proceedings. About 34,000 people are held in immigration detention on any given day, and over 500 detention centers, jails, and prisons nationwide. Those detained are both undocumented immigrants apprehended by ERO and other agencies such as Border Patrol. Due to United States detention bed quota mandated by Congress, the number will increase rather than decrease, you don't say. The quota mandates at least 34,000 beds available for immigrants or any given day. Under the Trump administration, the number of people being detained on any given day increased to 52,500 as early as of July 2019. So the reason why I'm saying all this, right, is because they're putting these people in these places for a reason. We talked about last episode. We talked about Alligator Alcatraz, which actually I think is coming up on its how do you call it? There was a pause put in due to one of the local indigenous tribes basically protesting and petitioning the courts to have the construction halted, at least for a temporary amount of time, and they did it. They got a 2-week halt, and I'm pretty sure that time frame is about to run out.
Coming up.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is, we know that they're building concentration camps all over the country, and just what was it today? Our friend James Ray, friend of the show, carries the show, put out this. Well, he didn't put this out, but he was showing it. Basically, the plans for additional construction of the ICE facilities. So, in the edit, I'm going to blow this up a little bit, but basically we have facilities expected to be open by year's end and active facilities as of July 30th, year's end capacity. And you basically have it all over the country. You have main ones, a huge concentration down in southern Texas, and then West Texas, more to the West Coast. And then, a concentration looks like more like New Jersey, kind of near Pennsylvania, and then on Florida, and then Puerto Rico, which will probably also have it says Puerto Rico's only target scale ICE facility, which closed in 2011. I'm sure they're going to try to reopen it, and that doesn't include like Guantanamo Bay. And again, this is also what's just being made known to us. We know that there's been deals made with the Salvadorian government, which Buchanan, who I made a video about talking about, we've talked about him on the podcast before, just changed the law of the country, effectively saying that he can run for president forever. These people, the ruling class, are making deals in order to continue and justify their own existence. And they're going to use ICE effectively, like the SS. And another comparison I'm making here is because one of the factions of the SS, the Death Head, were in charge of the concentration camps that they put millions of people in.
Yep. And then they had a separate division for slave labor too, which for sure is going to start happening. Well, already. Happened, but
absolutely. Yep. 100%. They're gonna. They're really speed running it now, boys. Which actually, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because Rolling Stone just the other day, I know this episode is definitely super ADHD coded right now, but just the other day came out with a document with leaks saying that the Trump administration was like, yeah, we're gonna invade Mexico, we're drawing up the battle plans, and we're basically saying that we're going after cartels, and that's what we're gonna do. And the Mexican president Claudia Sheinbaum, her response effectively was sending Mexican military assets to the border and essentially saying, hey, don't be fooled. If the U.S. comes here, they're not coming for the cartel. They're coming to take over. And we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that be easy for them, essentially. Basically saying, like, we're going to fight a war with you. And
they Mexico themselves, of course, knows the history of World War II. Like, they're not falling for that.
Right. And the thing is here, just like the Nazis, where they, when they tried to implement Lebensraum, not only to genocide those and colonize, the former, what would have been the Soviet Union, they needed slaves to keep their machines running. So if you try to start a war of expansion, where are you going to go? You're going to go immediately to your borders. I mean, earlier this year, we were talking. The Trump administration talked about going to war with Canada. You don't think that's also down in the pipeline? Like,
he's also talked about like invading Greenland.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. So, all of this. Go ahead.
Like you said, this is super ADHD coded, this entire episode. But I thought it was interesting. Bit of propaganda that's kind of come up. So, Battlefield 6.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen a demo if they have not played it and stuff like that. But normally you can see like kind of what they're thinking in terms of stuff based on like the story or who the U.S. forces are fighting. Right. And I thought it was interesting because I played it over the weekend because it was there. It was free.
And you didn't invite me?
I didn't invite you. I'm sorry.
That's so rude. Me and Wumbo both were playing.
Yeah. My bad.
Wow.
But since you played it, did you notice that you're not U.S. forces, you're NATO forces?
Yes.
Did you notice who the enemy was?
I saw they were called Pax Armada, but I didn't look too hard. I'm not gonna lie.
It's breakaway NATO nations.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah. So the NATO soldiers that you're playing as are fighting against countries that have left NATO to form their own bloc, and they're effectively those countries are getting support from non-NATO countries.
Pax Armada is the antagonist coalition in the Battlefield 6 campaign, comprising nations that defected from NATO and other recruited soldiers. From some historical background, NATO stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Yeah, I know that, bro. Treaty states that an attack. I know that too, bro. In the Battlefield 6 reveal trailer YouTube description section, Battlefield Studios provided a brief description. Witness the vicious path of destruction carved by Pax Armada, the world's leading private military company. Okay, interesting. Pax pursues the destruction of NATO and its allies, stopping at nothing to uphold their motto, our protection, your peace. But they're being made out to be the baddies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what were we going to say?
I just thought it was interesting to see like how it shifted from like, oh, Russia bad, China bad, Middle East bad, to now it's like any country that leaves NATO. Evil.
You leave our goddamn team. We're gonna. I mean, but that's been part of American.
It's the imperial machine breakup.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, going back to post 9/11. This episode is about ICE and the SS. Don't worry. Going back to right after 9/11, George Bush. He gave a speech. I don't know if it was at the UN, but he gave a speech and he effectively said either you're fighting with us or you're fighting against us.
Yeah.
And to a country that had just effectively won the Cold War, had won World War II without, now that the Soviets are gone, they can say they just did it. And they could effectively be like, hey, we're going to bully the shit out of the world for the next 30 years.
Who's going to stop us?
Well, it's coming up undone anyway.
Yeah. Do nothing, win anyway.
What the hell? Hold on a second. Okay.
So yeah, I used to stop them.
I looked down on my phone and it was it's an article. It was talking about corporate contracts that ICE has. And it said engineering construction firm Kellogg, Brown and Root, but I just saw Kellogg and I was like Frosted Flakes, like Tony the Tiger's.
Tony, what the fuck, bro?
They're great. And he's got the fucking MAGA hat on. But anyway, so all right, where did I want to talk about?
Frosted Flakes, even better with ice.
Oh my goodness. Who would be okay? So if that happened, right? If Tony the Tiger went full MAGA, like white is right, who would be his like main opposition out of all the cereal brands?
Cinnamon.
Well, they took the wokeness, they took the POC out of Cinnamon. they just made him like a cuck now.
The original Cinnamon.
Now he's just like, hey guys, and it's like, all right. I actually don't know if that's the case. He doesn't look Rasta anymore. He doesn't look cool anymore. I don't want to hang out with him. He looks like a fucking nerd. No, I feel like it would be the The Lucky Charms guy, of course.
Oh yeah, he's Irish.
Yeah, right. We should probably run that by the Irish King. See if if this is cool for us to say. But I feel like he would stand up for what's right. And the Tricks Bunny, because they're always they're always bullying that rabbit, and you won't let him eat any food.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Ice, just stop it.
Jesus Christ.
We're doing great. This is what happens when it's not live.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we can cut that. We can cut that. Who cares? Say what you want. Say what you're feeling.
I just don't. I don't have the energy, bro. I don't. In 1923, Nazi party led by Adolf Hitler had created a small volunteer guard unit known as the Salschutz Hall Security to provide security at their meetings in Munich. The same year, Hitler ordered the formation of a small bodyguard unit dedicated to his personal service. He wished it to be separate from the suspect mass of the party, including paramilitary storm battalion, which he did not trust. The new formation was designated the Staff Guard. Originally, the unit composed of 8 men, commanded by Julius Schreck, Joseph Bertaub, and was modeled after the Erdenhast Naval Brigade. These are a lot of German names, man. A Friedenskorps of the time, and the unit was renamed Shock Troops in 1923. So basically, what started out as just a small collection of dudes, diehard loyalists, eventually turned into this, this entire organization. It was, I think you were saying earlier, it was Himmler, right? But basically, so when Himmler gets appointed to basically lead and expand the SS, because there was a period of time where the SS membership dropped a lot, and he was able to reignite it. And something I found interesting is in the ideological framework that Himmler is proposing in the SS, he's comparing the the young men in the SS to Teutonic Knights, to samurais, to something, I don't even know what this is, Jesuits, some kind of religious Roman thing, it looks like. Anyway, my point is Jesuits. Okay, I did not know that's what that word looked like. Anyway, the point is they're framing the idea that the men who were involved within the SS are akin to godliness, that they embolden some kind of ancient warrior culture, whether it's theirs or not, and they will be the crusaders that will lead the German people back to greatness. And we're seeing something pretty similar happen with ICE recruitment, where we're seeing a lot of, like, especially on the Twitter page for Homeland Security, you're seeing a lot of paintings and propaganda being posted right now, akin to not even akin to, literally just parroting Manifest Destiny, putting the famous painting of Manifest Destiny on their Twitter, and basically being like, essentially what they're saying is the meme, which way, Western man? Like, are you going to be a soy beta cook communist, or are you going to be a Chad white nationalist? And what they want you to be is a white nationalist, and they're going to try to invoke this imagery of some kind of you're doing your duty, you're a warrior, in order to, and
they do channel a lot of, especially a lot of young men will look to these warrior cultures. Like there was I want to say a unit within the SS where it was like Viking and Nordic specific, and like trying to chant, like it was actually called like the Viking something, and it was and Norse pagan runes, and they were like obsessed with that kind of stuff. So what I've seen now is still channeling like Viking, still looking at samurai and stuff like that. But in talking with some of these younger dudes, especially being in a military area, they invoke Aztec a lot, which I find interesting, considering who the scapegoat is right now.
Right.
They're like, yeah, the Aztecs were cool. And I'm like, what? What's happening?
I mean, I could see why. Because I probably would propose the argument, that like the Aztecs kept the New World, in order before the, they dissolved or whatever the fuck they want to, argue.
Whatever they twist it.
Right. These motherfuckers aren't interested in natural history, obviously.
No. It's one of those fascinating things, like channeling the old warrior cultures and saying like that's who you are.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, so effectively, what we're seeing here is, how it's sort of the reverse process of things, right? So the SS started small, expanded, eventually started cooperating with like local police units, either overtly taking them over, or when camps like Dachau were formed and created, which were basically created from like a lot of smaller camps and regions, sort of into one sort of complex network of concentration camps. They were using local police, and local police was working with them, or legitimately just becoming part of them, in order to continue to facilitate their genocide. And in the case where we have ICE, where we already have a very big network of a police surveillance and state that is now sort of scrambling a little bit to try to fill in the numbers. And I think that's going to be part of the downfall here, because we're effectively seeing standards for to be an ICE agent drop. They're hiring goons, they're hiring bodyguards. Some of the people I see doing work for ICE look old to me. They don't look prepared. Some of them are literally just people in t-shirts, in gym shorts, and they're just like, yep, I'm part of ICE. And it's like, are you? Or you just look like some goober.
You signed up, got zero training.
Right. And these are going to be the goobers who are going to, well then, good damn. These are going to be the goobers who, but I came back in so nicely. These are going to be the people who are going to be asked to die for the regime. And it's going to be really interesting when that happens. And it's sort of been happening, but there's been a lot of censorship that's been going on, obviously. On TikTok, great example. There really wasn't a lot of coverage happening on the major protests that are happening in like New York City and in LA. People had to come up with different captions, and and that's the one that took that got really popular, was saying 24-hour music festival. Now I saw somebody arguing on TikTok saying that basically that wasn't the case, and people effectively censored themselves by referring to it as a music festival. I didn't really understand what that was about, and I don't really agree with it, but nonetheless,
like preemptively,
because I gotta go watch it again. But we have the benefit of history, where we saw the horrors that the Nazi Party is capable of doing, and we can kind of see the holes that the American empire is already their life raft is already sinking, and within their thrashing about, they're going to just sink more. I mean, this talking about invading Mexico, overblowing the budget for ICE to effectively be stronger than any military in the world, effectively, is what they're going for. I don't think they're going to get nearly as far as they think they are, especially
definitely. I don't think they are. I'd be willing to put money on that.
Right. Especially with the pervasiveness of, gun culture in America, and that's not to say that people didn't openly arm themselves and fight the Nazis or fight the SS partisans before and after World War II, or before and during World War II. But the ideological fervor is not. Now, don't get me wrong. America is a white supremacist country.
It is.
People like Gavin Newsom, one of the front runners of the liberal resistance, is a fascist. He's personally gone and destroyed homeless, encampments. He's not a good person. But there is a much more obvious political disagreements that are forming, especially on the West Coast. And when it comes to, I think unless a person is essentially an overt white supremacist, it's gonna get to a point, especially if American servicemen are dying or being sent to be killed, that typical, I would say, you know, my Republican dad is gonna be like, this can't keep going this way, especially when all the treats are gonna go away.
Yeah,
I don't know. Am I making sense?
All the luxuries and stuff like that are going to go away. I heard, like, where I work, a person that, you know, is Republican, voted for Trump and everything like that. I heard him go, "Oh, this is bad. This is fascism."
Right.
Like that's where we're getting. Like even those guys are like, "Oh shit." I voted for it, but it's not quite what I wanted.
Right. Exactly. So it's spooky. It's scary. You know, shit's not gonna go good, you know, for us or them for now. But like I said, I think sort of the preliminary predictions that we've had for the US at the beginning of this year are sort of, again, just coming true. Like, I mean, for me, dude, it's at the point where, like, I don't even, if you genuinely ask me, you know, is the union going to exist the way it is in 365 days from now? I really don't. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you anymore. I really just don't.
I would say, like, within the next couple of years at least, I think we are going to start seeing serious pushes for a breakup of the union in some capacity. Or, like, even if they're fringe movements, they're going to start getting attention.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they're yep. I mean, I don't know. It's just interesting, like, especially, you know, a place where I live, like in New York, where, you know, I don't really agree with our governor on pretty much anything, but, like, Kathy Hochul is one of the only other governors who's like, yeah, we're not doing this. So, like, if National Guard, you know, like, gets deployed in the state capitol, for example, like, what is she gonna do? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a genuine movement. I mean, there's so many things that are happening all at once.
That's kind of the question, right? That's kind of the question. Like, the only reason the Nazis got as big as they did is that the liberal government did not push back on them because they were too scared of the communists and the socialists taking over. Now, granted, the 1-to-1 isn't 100% because the Republicans are a well-established party. It's like a takeover from within the party, or just that's not even the right terminology, because that's not what's happening. It's just the Republican Party and Democratic parties doing exactly what they've always been doing, just in the more evolved form now. But with the liberal government not pushing back on the Nazi government or the Nazi uprising, that's the only reason they got as far as they did. And when they would push into, like, Czechoslovakia, for instance, or into France, they were specifically like, if there's pushback, stop. Gotta push back. So if National Guard gets deployed to the state capitol and there's no pushback, then that's the way it is now.
Right.
That's normal now. So push back.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying, everybody. You know.
Yeah. Push back. Don't make haphazard podcasts unless it's good for your mental health.
Sometimes it's just fun.
Yeah. Don't make videos about how Pol Pot is good. That's stupid.
That's
stupid.
Very bad.
That. You're dumb. I don't like you. Yeah, I hate you. Touch grass.
Fight me.
For those who know, you know why I said that.
If you know,
no, but like for real, like when there's like literal Nazis in the street, bro, and like you're like, I'm gonna talk about Pol Pot. Fuck you, idiot. Like,
yeah, what are you doing?
Like, there's a war to be fought, my boy. Like,
they're in the back of the bunker, everything's going down, fighting everywhere, and they're just like, I don't know, man, Pol Pot. He's like, shut up. Stop.
No, for real, because it's like, bro, there's a lot of things you can criticize me about, and that's fine. But like, Pol Pot, are you fucking for real, bro? Like, what? But whatever. I guess it gives you an excuse not to do anything, right? All right. I think we did it.
I think so too. It's going to be a heavily edited one, but
that's
I like
okay.
it.
Okay. I think I've just like increasingly like you could literally see the trajectory of like the state of the US and contrast it to the state of like, the podcast.
Where we're just like, I don't know, man. Let's just get on here and yap for a minute.
Yeah, basically. It's just like, because I mean, what else is there? What else is there to say and do? You know what I mean? Like, you know, I guess in a way, it's kind of like on the real. It's like, shit is just getting so much worse. So it's just kind of just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna say what I gotta say. I'm not gonna dress it up like more than I have to.
Say it straight, and you know, we kind of got to keep in mind that we're still able to.
Exactly. So we might as well just not censor ourselves and just be like, yeah, you know what? This is what I think. And I'm just going to kind of stick to it. You're right, because there is going to be a time where we aren't going to be allowed to say these things on the internet. I mean, it's already kind of started. I don't think it's a secret, like when YouTube said that they were going to roll out age verification stuff. This channel got one of those. Yeah. And it's kind of like there's a whole list of things you can't do, supposedly. If you don't, if you don't comply, and it's like, right now it's not that much of a difference, but it can be. It's exactly what it is. It's a show of force.
The first things the Nazis went after before they took power and after they took power was arts and culture that they didn't agree with. Getting rid of people. If someone had a certain ethnicity, they got rid of them, removed them from life.
If someone had a podcast that they didn't like, they got rid of them.
It's where we're at, everybody.
Exactly. Anyway, buy a gun. Don't be a weenie about it. Yeah.